Sul, hello, and Labus. Welcome to another episode of the Payne Family Ultimate Decades Challenge. The year is 1346, it's day 1, Tuesday, and we're starting at a new home that we will not recognize, obviously. But before we get to that, there's a few things to talk about. Because I was going to show at the end of the last episode, but after that last machinima, it was a pretty sharp pivot to try and put them in then. So I'll put the home risk rolls for Lithuania and for England on the screen now so that you can see them. So for Ivor's consequence for the raid that he fell prey to last year, first one doesn't count, so number 9. Taken. He's been taken by the invaders. Uh-oh. So another thing that's going to be different is I'm going to do part of the English home risks this year, and then part of them when the army is returning, just because it helps space it out a little bit. Remember, for a consequence to happen, they would have to get a 4 on a d10. So for the Fitzroy house first. Number 6, they're safe. What about the de Beauchamp house? Number 7, they're safe. What about Alexander Brewer's home? He's okay. What about the Greystrokes? They're fine. And the Hoggins are the last ones for this part. Oh my gosh, come on. Shut up. Shut up. Dang it. Okay, fine. Fine. So what is the consequence for the Hoggins after being raided? Number 9. Taken by the invaders? A second one? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'll deal with that later. Oh my gosh. What is going on here? I'm going to do their roll to find out what it is that's happening now, but you will not see it until after it's happened if you see it at all. So what happened to the Narvas? Number 4. Famine or disease? Oh my goodness. And a long time ago, right when the Wixie trade happened, I'd rolled to see what year it would happen that the Wixes came for the youth. And I also rolled to see who it was. It was Isabel. But what I didn't realize when I was doing that until I got to making the machinima was that she was actually going to already be an adult by then. And if you remember in the rules about the trade for youth, it says you have to go through the next 3 rolls for your life stages. And so Isabel only had the one left, the elder role. And while I don't think that Ava would have held her to that deal, I think that she would have said, you know what, you have done your job. Grania and Rhiannoch are not the same kind of witches as Ava. They don't care, basically. So they came for somebody else. Other than that, here we are with the Blackshires. Now, the Blackshires were shared by Pink Sugar 90 on the gallery using our hashtag plumbobsdecades a while ago, and they've actually been in this save file for a while. In fact, I think somebody was friends with them when they were younger. I cannot remember who, though. But since then, they've grown up, and of course, Gideon is Alice's soulmate. They met while she was away at war, and they had their little illegitimate baby, Gideon, that Alice named after his father. Alice, do you mind terribly making some pottage? Alice is once again pregnant. Did you complete your work task? Okay. Alice is once again pregnant, and ooh, why are you inside of the stove? Okay, I'll put a wall there in a bit. This is their son. He's a bit bigger now. Isn't he so cute? He's adorable. He's named after his father. He doesn't even have a second in his name, though. But they're now actually no longer in England. What I was thinking about these guys is that our Earl Henry of Grosmont was pretty well known for loving love and liking peasants. And Gideon was away on the last campaign. That's how he met Alice. Alice was also away on the last war campaign. And I feel like Henry met both of them. They're both peasants who lived under his area. And they came to him and said, hey, we love each other and our parents are kind of getting in our way. So what do you say you help us out? And so Henry of Grosmont stowed them away so that they could come over here and basically start a life together. And I don't think that they actually needed to have run away so far away, but I think that, you know, Alice is pretty young. They both were told no from their families quite a few times. And I think that they felt like they didn't really have much of a choice, whether they're right or wrong. So they took a little bit of money that they got from Grid to help get them started. Gideon took a little bit of money that was his from his family. And they also had the $1,000 that Alice got for going on campaign last time. And they moved here to France, where Henry of Grosmont's actually stationed and in control of a large area. We'll talk about that when we talk about the 100 Years' War stuff. But basically, they're settling down here in France. I do want to say I'm not planning on going much into French history other than what we already end up talking about because of other things. But I thought, you know, they were going to take advantage of the fact that their Earl basically was headed this way and it could get them over here. Gideon is working as a blacksmith's apprentice. He is doing fine. He's level 1 of the career. It's the Jane Simpson career. And Alice is heavily pregnant. She's going to go into labor any second. It's pretty late in the day because I had a lot of things I had to do. But just in case you're interested, this is their home. It's in Werewolf World, also known as Moonwood Mill. They have got a nice little bathroom set up here. It counts as separate rooms because of the spandrels. It counts as separate rooms because of the spandrels. They have a couple of counters over here. They've got, it's pretty squishy, I'm not gonna lie, but listen, they ran away with no money. Total Romeo and Juliet situation. They've got their larder, their stove, oven, a dining table, and then their bed set up, you know? They've got enough to get them going, nothing much more than that. And then outside, they've got a little bit of a garden that they just started. So it's nothing crazy. They didn't have a lot of money. I built this with just the money that they'd brought with them. I think I had to give them an extra 500 simoleons at one point, but basically it's, oh yeah, and they've got 1 simoleon left to their name. So we really pushed the boundary. But yeah, here's their home. Alice is abruptly in labor because it's 4:30 and we've got other places to go and other things to talk about. So come on, Alice, let's go ahead and have this baby. Okay, Alice, you can do it. You're far away from home, but you made a pretty normally perilous journey. Totally fine this time, so you can do it. You're fine. Come on, Alice. The baby must be here. Oh, that's a boy. Oh, it hasn't changed their last name yet. Ugh. I've gone with the name Raoul if it was going to be a boy. Apparently it's a medieval English and French name, and I think it pairs kind of nicely with the name Gideon. Ah, my favorite thing. When they still have their little pregnant bellies. Oh. And they still have their little pregnant bellies and they also have a baby. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, Alice. And there it goes, it's gone. In terms of Gideon, who's running around now excited about getting yet another son, he's a genius, an animal enthusiast, and an insider with high metabolism. And apparently he wants to become a championship horse rider, but I'm afraid their dreams are gonna have to wait for a minute because, well, they don't have any money, so. All right, Alice, let's roll to see how you and baby go. So for Alice to survive, the first one doesn't count, thank goodness. She cannot roll the numbers 1 or 11, so. Oh, she's fine. And for the baby to survive, he cannot roll the numbers 1, 5, 7, 10, 12, 15, 17, or 20. Oh gosh, yes! Ah, you guys, what a great start to this episode. I know that we've started late in the day, but like, I am chill with this. Oh yeah. Oh man, I'm pumped. I am so pumped, like outrageously pumped. Now, I don't know if they're going to stay here for forever, but they're definitely here for right now. But I do think that they're going to ask Henry of Grosmont to get word to the Jacobsons, who, as we know, are back here in France. I mean, they're not in the same area, but they're back in France. And that way they can get word to their parents that they're fine and that they're in France right now, but that they're open to returning home at some point in the future, possibly, but not just now. Anyways, on that note, I'm going to leave these guys here and head to the main Paynes because we have a few things we have to talk about there. So I'll see you when we get there. Okay, so here we are at the main Payne families. Because of a lot of reasons, obviously. But you may notice that it looks pretty different. That's because between parts, I made some pretty substantial changes to the lot so that we could add a tavern. So I've basically changed everything. Our home used to be over here in this now completely empty spot over here nearby this well, but I've moved it over here because I used to really like how the animals would wander through the house, like the chickens and the goats and the sheeps and stuff. And when they were all the way over here, we just couldn't do that. So basically I moved the home over here to the side of the water, kept the gates closed so that the animals couldn't get out, and then moved the orchard over by the cow area and the mead area. Have most of our crops sort of just in the front yard for now. The chickens are still off to the side like they were. We still have our bizarre little outhouse. And then the house is exactly the same, except for, I guess, the one thing is that I did expand the nectar aging area and also made a mistake where it's a long story, but basically none of the nectar is aged anymore. What can you do? That was a big whoopsies on my part. But it's kind of nice because now they look out straight over a sheer cliff edge, you know? That's kind of beautiful. And then because we did that, we had space on the other side to begin building a tavern. And I went back and forth about the idea of keeping it on the lot or moving it off of the lot. It was raised in the comments that a really good idea for why it should be off the lot is because then we can save it and continue to go to it in the future, like in future generations. And the only reason I didn't do that is because I really struggle with multi-part mods. And to be able to do that with Little Miss Sam's one, for example, I needed to download like her more buyable venues as well as Base Mental's venues list organizer thing. And my big issue with multi-part mods is usually around update time. I don't know. I don't have a system for tracking how to manage that. So if you have any tips, I would super appreciate that. My goal is eventually we'll actually turn it into kind of a bed and breakfast or tavern, like in tavern type place. But for now, we've got our shop over here as well as a place to sell drinks once we, get the whole thing going. And it's on the quote edge of the lot. So some should wander over this way. And like a lot of people said, all of the gates to the house are locked so that only the household can get in through them. So, good luck to those people trying to get through. Oh yeah, and we found a golden egg last time. I also copied what I've seen some other people do to deal with this being a little bit annoying and put multiples of these over here. Did you get the milk, my dude? I think so. Do you mind? Okay, you're fine. Thanks, Esmond. Can you clean that and give them some food and tell a story? Other than that, Knox and Luella's relationship has not been improving. I want to be really honest about it. In fact, behind my back, it's actually gotten even worse than it had been. So behind my back, while we were away, something must have happened because look at how in the red it is now. Like before, it was just slightly in the red on romance, but now it's all the way in the red. Things are really bad right now. Things are really bad, and I don't really know how to fix it, and I don't think either of them know how to fix it either. So Knox is actually sleeping out here at this moment in time. He lives out here these days. He doesn't live in the big house with Luella. I have been contemplating having them separate, but the big issue is that typically at this point in time, you could separate. It's not a problem. You can separate at this point in time. It's just that typically when you do, the woman goes back to her family and takes the children with her. And I don't really want to have the two main... Henrik! Oh my goodness. Please somebody get this child. Dang it. Knox, I need you to discipline your child. Tell him not to splash in the toilet very firmly. It's disgusting. And then you can go back and collect some more honey if you don't mind. I don't want the boys to not be in the household, and I haven't really thought of a way to get around it. So if you have any ideas, let me know. But basically at this point in time, they're not separating, even though they could. Mostly because I don't want the children to be in a different household. But I mean, we could just ignore that that's the way that things, you know, usually went. We can just decide how we want things to go. In other news, I don't know if you've seen, but the Ye Olde Cookbook mod has been updated, but it's the same thing where it's also a multi-part mod now. And so now I was scared to try and download it because I don't trust myself. Buddy, you're not even hungry. Why are you trying to grab a serving? Can you go potty? Please do. Now, in terms of the 100 Years' War, the first major English military invasion of France happened when Henry of Grosmont, our Earl, led a force of several thousand men to retake Bergerac. Now, by 1347, Henry of Grosmont is going to be Earl of Lancaster because his father, who was our Earl before, will be dead in 1345. And in addition to that, Henry of Grosmont will have earned a ton of money in ransoms of knights, making him one of the wealthiest men in all of England. And I guess that makes us pretty lucky that he's our Earl and also that he's pretty kind to his peasants. And that's maybe why our taxes were so low until the king got involved with raising the taxes. But at least he had given us a pretty low amount. It's not like we started off with like 60% taxes that then got raised up by the church and by the king. You know what I mean? In addition, what happened when Henry of Grosmont did this military invasion is Edward III had time to gather his men and land with a very large force in Normandy to the surprise of the French. Now, this is when I think Edward III, he's a great military commander, but I don't think that he was necessarily the best person. That's just my perspective. You're free to disagree with me. But the goal when he landed in Normandy was... Vampire boy? What are you doing here? The goal when he landed in Normandy was to ruin Normandy's rich countryside so that they could weaken Philip or Philippe, the French king's, ability to get taxes from it. So what they did is they launched these huge chevauchés, basically raiding parties, running around, burning mills, barns, and orchards, smashing or stealing barrels of wine, and destroying everything they could in their path, terrorizing the people who live there. By July, Edward's forces reached Caen, and while the garrison there surrendered immediately, Edward let his men run completely rampant. They assaulted people in every way that you can think of. They plundered, and they killed as much as they wanted to for a full 3 days. During that time, 3,000 townspeople died. Edward was able to gather a lot of loot from this, which he wanted to use to pay off the people he owed debt to. The survivors fled, and Edward took his forces towards Paris, where the King of France had tried to gather a large force of men to meet him, but was unfortunately for them unprepared and unable to assemble quickly enough. So they had to watch from the Paris city walls as Edward's forces went out raiding in the nearby areas right within their view. By the time that the French army was assembled properly, Edward had begun taking his forces north, and they managed to stay just ahead of the French forces until around August 26, 1346. By this point, the English army was completely battle-hardened, and they camped out in the forest of Crécy while the French forces were getting closer. As usual, Edward did what Edward does, and he came up with a strategy so that he would have the advantage, because while he only had likely around 14,000 men, the French had approximately around 30,000 men. What he did is Edward had his men assemble on an elevated ridge that looked south into the valley where the French were going to approach from, and he divided his men into 3 groups, one of which was led by his son, the Black Prince, who is also known as Edward of Woodstock, who I'm going to call the Black Prince just because it's easier with 2 Edwards existing in the same place at the same time. And Edward of Woodstock, the Black Prince, led one of these groups, even though he was only 16 years old at the time. Edward also told his men to hold back on rampaging in the nearby areas until they were given orders to go wild, which made them rest while they waited for the French to arrive. When the French forces got close, Philip wanted to rest overnight and attack at dawn, but his men were eager to get going and they were caught up in these chivalric ideas, so he was forced to let them attack immediately, even though there were 2 big problems with this. The first was that they'd been marching for a really long time leading up to this point, and the second was that it was already 6 p.m., which, as you may know, is kind of the beginning of nighttime. It's a move to choose to attack at that time. That's all I'm saying. The first force from the French side went forward just as a short but thorough thunderstorm happened. And the problem with the thunderstorm for the French is that the battlefield was completely soaked. So the battlefield was soaked, making it muddy and difficult to get to, and the English were on a high position where their longbowmen were easily able to almost completely destroy the group. Very few people survived, and when they did, they fled, as any rational person would. But shockingly, on the French side, there was a French count in charge of a group of knights, and he said, "Oh my goodness, can you believe that these men shamed us by abandoning the battlefield? Ride forward, knights, and eliminate our own men," which they did. So the knights rode out and they murdered the Frenchmen fleeing the longbowmen. But what happened is that the knights are wearing heavy armor and their horses are also wearing heavy armor. And so the knights and the horses got bogged down in the mud in the process, and most of those knights who had ridden out to murder their own Frenchmen ended up also being shot down by the longbowmen. After this, the French kept launching charges on the English forces from mounted knights. They particularly focused on the side where the Black Prince was in command, and at one point, I'll remind you again, 16-year-old Black Prince was in trouble, and he was almost overwhelmed by the sheer volume of knights coming at him. So he sent word to his father that he needed help, but Edward refused, saying, quote, "Let the boy win his spurs, for I want him, please God, to have all the glory." In fairness to Edward, he did eventually send 20 knights to support his son, and by that point, in fairness to the Black Prince, he had already repelled the forces that had come at him. The next charge of interest featured everyone's favorite blind king, King John of Bohemia. You'll remember him from tales of the Crusades against Lithuania, because he's often been involved in those. And at this point, he had been going blind, but now he is completely blind. And his idea was to have all of his knights tie their horses to his horse, and that he would then lead all of the horses forward himself. Quick reminder, he is a blind king, in an attempt to overwhelm the right flank where the Black Prince was. And shockingly enough, it started well. They actually were doing well in the beginning, until, of course, they weren't, and they were all cut down. That's the end of the blind king, John of Bohemia, is in this really interesting approach to battle. I really think that this part of the war is it's filled with some interesting tales. That's all I think about it. After this happened, the French charged 15 more times. Each of them was unsuccessful, and each time they lost more and more men, until eventually they were disheartened, they were disorganized, and they had to withdraw. Of course, because once again, they attacked at 6 p.m., Dark had fallen during all of this fighting, and the English didn't even know how much damage they'd done. They fell asleep on the ridge, and when they woke up in the morning, they found that they'd lost less than 100 men, while the French had lost over 10,000, including over 1,500 lords and knights. The English buried the French princes who died in battle to their, to their side. Good for them that they did that. To their bad side. After that, they marched north, sacking cities as they went until they got to Calais, which they wanted to take and keep for themselves. It would take a year-long siege, but the English would be successful, and Calais would be held by the English until 1558. All in all, I think that it's kind of a really odd moment in the war. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but that's just like my perspective, Oh, come on. Okay, we've got to go head over to Sheila Greystroke and help her with her labor. So I will see you when we get there. Okay, here we are at the Greystrokes, and I know for a fact this baby is coming fast, so I already set up the shots to be able to— Guys, get out of the way. All these boys just standing here. Dang. Go, Sheila, go. I believe in you. Oh, I wonder what kind of a baby you're having. Are you having a boy baby or a girl baby? I didn't remember to look for names. A boy! Ah! Oh, I guess we should probably name it Jefferson. Okay. Jefferson 3. Just the one baby. Oh, that's really good, Sheila. Nice work. Just one is always appreciated these days. I'm gonna be really honest. Okay, Sheila. Sheila, come back. Go, Sheila. For Sheila to survive this birth, she cannot roll the numbers 1 or 11. First one doesn't count, so... she's fine. And for the baby Jefferson 3 to survive, he cannot roll the numbers 1, 5, 7, 10, 12, 15, 17, or 20. Whoa, that's so weird. For me, that was 3 8s in a row, but I don't think you'll see the third 8 until the end. But wow, that's freaky. But the baby lived and Sheila lived, so I'm happy about that. We're gonna have to start getting some of them out of there because there's no more room. Okay, here we are back with the Paynes. I don't know if you would have seen that or not. I kind of feel like you wouldn't have seen it. There was a slew of birthdays. You'll see at the end. We've got the shop open. It opened in the night. Oh, Adam's former lover. Somebody asked in the comments what happened to this guy. Honestly, I tried with him and Adam to make it more serious for a really long time, and they just would not actually move forward or progress with their relationship. It just kind of stagnated and then drifted away. So I don't know if they were placed in different locations during the war or what. Oh, I shouldn't have sent her to the shop. Okay, never mind. Come back. Because I'm not going to get anything. Oh. That reminds me, we've got a ton of roosters right now. Can you scatter feed? And why do we never get eggs these days? It's because we're never here. Oh, hey, Federico. Why are you calling Luella? Oh, you had a good time with somebody? That's good. How many? How many? We've only got roosters. That's why we don't have any eggs lately. Are you old? Are you old? You're old. You're a young adult. You're a young adult. You're old. All of you are going. Sorry. For ingredients. Okay. Yeah, all of you are going. We do have another home to go to today. Well, we have to go to the war lot today, but that's a problem for later. For now, it's May Day, so we're gonna do our chores around here and then let the shop run for a little bit, and then we shall please press the honey, press the honey, press the honey. Do you have a job? No. Then you can clean, feed, and milk. Harper, do you have a job? Looks like that's a negative, Ghost Rider. Do you want to light this for everyone? And then you can also tend the bar, and we can open the live-in bar just for a minute and see what's up. See if it works the way that I'm hoping it will. You know what I mean? Would you like some meat? You look like a guy who would like some meat. Okay, just kidding. I spoke too soon. My apologies. Kenrick, are you... Graham sent a letter. Heck yeah. Graham's wife just became a young adult, and one of his babies just became a... Stop walking away from your job. Would you mind, after you do that, lighting this? Thank you. Oh, Luella, how's it going over here? Man, I don't know if this is true for anybody else. I had to take royalty mod out recently because it was throwing last exceptions. I'm 100% sure it was a me problem. But... Whoa, he just became an elder right before our eyes. Do you want a drink? Harper? Who are you talking to? Why does he think... Do you like her? She's an adult. You can sing if you want to. Why is everyone coming over here? This is locked, guys. This area is locked. It's not for you. Everyone is coming over here. Oh no, this live-in bar thing might not work out the way I wanted it to. Okay, I'm gonna close the live-in bar. It's noon. Okay, we better get this show on the road. So we've made 10,037 today so far. Made. What are you talking about? Oh, okay. So we started the sale yesterday with 5,258 simoleons, but of course we've got 2,000. We've of course got 10,037 currently, which means that we made a profit of 4,779, which is really exciting. But of course, with our 40% taxes, we owed 1,912, which means that we'll be left over with 8,124. Wow, exciting. Very exciting. But on that note, I think we're going to go to a new location. I built this because Citrine Summer had suggested the idea of a barn that was a rec center. So we're going to go there and hang out there for May Day. And I'll see you when we get there. Thanks, Joan Scott. Well, I don't know. Everyone get up to whatever you want to get up to. Oh, so I guess... This is the lot from one side. I don't think it's anything special except for originally I had one of those ice skating rinks from Ravasheen here, which I was really excited about. I love those. I don't know why. I just love ice skating in The Sims, okay? I'm sorry. But it's busted right now. The opacity is, and it threw a last exception, so I had to get it out of the game. There's like a pretend place for people to camp out over there. There's some outhouses. There's a grilling area over here. Hey, Graham, thanks for coming to join us. Over here, there's like a play thing. Some yoga mats, of course. What am I, a monster? And then inside, if you go in, if you can go in, you've got some games tables if you want to gamble or just play cards, some chess tables, some place that you can buy some produce. Oh my gosh, that's scary. There's a noise in the hall. Upstairs, you've got... Seamus! Seamus is here. Ignore him. He's not here. Oh my gosh, Seamus, what are you doing? We've got the kid area, we've got instruments area, we've got play area, and then exercise area. How about you, buddy? Are you doing okay? Yeah, you're doing okay. Why don't you come and have one of these things? I don't know if this time period appropriate, but you can come over. Why don't you come over here so you can play with this fire? You know? I was hoping that there would be some other kids around. I'd like for everyone to have... Oh yeah, and I put a kiddie pool here. This is one that's an override by Medieval Sims Taylor and Carpenter. Or Ngeli, whichever way you want to say it. So it's like a little wooden kiddie pool. Look at Kenrick in here. Isn't he so happy? Okay, he's had enough. Heidi, why don't you go to the bathroom and then you can come and eat something? What else? I don't know, I was really hoping, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I thought that was an Evanson. A young adult? Hey, why don't you go say hi to him? Graham! Aw, I love Graham. Graham, you're the bee's knees, buddy. Oh wow, he's an interesting character. He's ambitious and self-assured and clumsy. Oh, Seamus. A lot of people want Seamus to come back, to make his way back to Lithuania. I've been putting it off because, well, he's got two very small children, and I think it's quite a long trip to make with two very small children. But let me know what you think. Do you think he should? I was really hoping there would be more children around, but there's just ghosts for some reason. Like, I don't get it. Why don't you go and wish? Do you want a child? She wants a dishwasher. You want music. I've closed my eyes. I'm just doing it randomly. I don't want to do for a child because Citrine Summer just did that in her playthrough, and honestly, it was the most terrifying thing ever. Also, I think we're full up, aren't we? Oh no, we're not. We could have had a child. Yikes. Oops, I forgot to pay attention. Did we get happiness? Hello? Looks like a yes. Oh, it gave it away to other nearby Sims? That's nice. Not for Luella, but for everyone else. Oh, Seamus. Talking to Stefan Gonzalez. Oh my gosh, it's already 4:30? Well, okay. Why is there an alien here? Sir or madam? Beckham. Ugh, okay. Oh, a kid! Finally. Graham, go say hi. Billy. Billy Selbit. Man, the Selbits have been in the background for a long time now. Hey, Billy, do you want to be pals? Here, I'll spin a noise day maker in your face. A noise day maker? A Mayday noise maker. Wait, what? Awkward way to sit, boys. Ugh. Oh my gosh, I love it. Look at them. Oh, cute. Our boys. Our cute boys. Oh, even Kenrick over there. Well, however, I really do have to go to the war camp because some things kind of important are happening today, so I'm going to leave these guys here. Hopefully they continue to have a good May Day. And I'll see you when we get to the next household, to the war camp, and see what's going on there. Okie dokie. So here we are at the Noble War Camp because there are two birthdays today. Well, technically one's tomorrow, but tomorrow's really, really busy. The next half of 1346 is really full of birthdays. So we're going to do the one that's here today so we don't have to come back. But before we get to that, while the cake is being made, I guess I should introduce... Oh, Edwin, yes, do like affection. I guess I should introduce, this lady who is talking to our good buddy Kieran. This lady is Alice, and her name is Mackie, because Alice and Kieran got married. Alice was shared by J plus 4. Alice and Kieran have been soulmates for a minute. Like, they've actually been friends or soulmates for a really long time at this point. But they haven't really been able to fit into the story just yet. So they haven't featured. Everything else has been going on. It's been a little bit overwhelming. So Alice and Kieran are officially married. Husband and wife, you know what I mean? They're deeply in love, they're soulmates and they're spouses. They actually got married officially at the end of 1344. However, Gri, can you please put some birthday candles on that? But yeah, it just really didn't fit in anywhere, so I kind of, whoa, Kieran! I kind of didn't include it until this moment, but now you know, yay! However, I should say about Alice, I'm really freaked out because as soon as I loaded in, Edward was like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with Alice. I'm obsessed with her. And honestly, like, I don't know. I don't want, obviously, nothing should happen, but oh, dang it. I knew that was going to happen. I don't think we have another table out here. 1 second. Wow, it's just so bright out. Blinding. Everyone, come here to celebrate Edwin! Edwin, don't go the wrong... Dang it. At least Kennard's celebrating you. Yay, and Gree! Happy birthday, Edwin! Edwin, when he gets back from the war, is going to go ahead with his marriage. But, you know, for now, he's just a guy. He's just a guy out in the world. Oh, he's lactose intolerant. He's proper and a genius. Heck yeah, he is. And I do not remember his aspiration, but I think I'm gonna give him Renaissance Sim because I think that that's true for him. Why don't I go ahead and add some birthday candles? Guess we can probably discover... Oh yeah, he had a smart boy aspiration before, I guess. Yay! And then up next, it's our girl Gree. It's Gree's elder birthday tomorrow, so we're here for that as well. Who are you talking to? Just Kennard. Okay, good. Oh, Gree. Happy birthday, Gree. I can't believe that this moment has come. Oh no, she's an old lady. Oh god. Oh god, no. Oh, they got a lot of gifts, but one name I didn't recognize. Who is this? I don't know. Wow. Oh god, Green. No. Okay, I guess we'll do Edwin's rolls first. Please stay still, Edwin. Okay, so for Edwin to survive, he just cannot roll the numbers 6 and 14. It's just a young adult roll, so he's fine. Of course he's fine. There's no need to get so worked up about everything. For Gree to survive, she cannot roll 9 or below, so she has to roll 9 and above. Oh my gosh, Gree made it. You guys, the Jacobsons. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, I wasn't ready to lose her. Okay. Oh, so they both had successful birthdays. You know, after this war campaign, I don't think that Gree and Kennard are going on anymore. I think this is the end of them going on campaign. Well, I guess Kennard kind of still has to go. They can pay Scootage to get out of it. His children are now grown. He looks like such an old man in the background there. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't believe it. I mean, I can, but I don't want to. But on that note, I think I'm gonna leave this part here. In the background, Kate Smith became an adult successfully, and Hal Smith aged up to an infant. In the Brewer household, Arthur's house, Sawyer Brewer also became an infant. And in Alexander and Gita's house, Catherine Brewer became a toddler successfully. Over at the Hagen household, Leif was able to craft enough weapons to appease the kidnappers, and they promised to release poor Eric. However, they'd moved him not so close to home, and they took all of his money, so when they released him, He had to find his way back without any money, even though night was falling. Luckily, while he was wandering home, he met a woman who seemed really nice. She wondered if he was doing okay and wanted to help him. She didn't have a home because she was currently experiencing homelessness, but she did have some friends at an inn and happily took him there to help him get some food. After they'd eaten, she also organized for them to get a bed in the inn so that he wouldn't have to walk home in the darkness. And the next day, she even went and walked with him home to make sure he made it safely. Eric, as a sweet guy, asked his father if she and her sister could move in since they didn't have a home of their own, but they'd gone out of their way to help him. And Leif isn't the kind of man to say no to someone who helped his children. So their household is a little bit bigger now with a few new friends. All in all, this was a great half year of happiness and growth. It may not happen for a week or two, given the newest patch coming out for me tomorrow and for you all maybe 2 days ago. But if you have marriage prospects that you feel comfortable with going through the plague roll, send them into our hashtag plumbobsdecades. Male and female sims are appreciated. Also, I'm going to be plaguing the population behind the scenes, so if you have families you'd like to see in the world, it's the same thing, though as a warning, occasionally in the past there have been some custom traits on the sims from the gallery that have caused my game to crash or have caused a failure to load into a household. I'm not really sure what custom traits they are or why they happen, unfortunately. But if you don't see your sims go in, that can be a contributing factor. So I just wanted to let you know. It's not that I don't think your sims are beautiful. It's that they crash the game sometimes. I hope you've enjoyed this part. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the second half of 1346. Bye-bye, everyone.